second segment with Ron Jaworski. We're just off camera, just laughing at some of the fun times we've had.
Yeah, we come on here, I'm laughing, Vin. So but good to be with you again, and we always have fun.
It's always great. 77, we go back, way back to 77, when I was my second year, and you're coming in from L.A. All right off the bat, how did you get the name Jaws? I mean, I want to hear it coming from you.
Well, the nickname Jaws came from Doug Collins, who was my next door neighbor, great Sixers player, and he just said, my jaws are always flapping, so he gave me the nickname Jaws, and it stuck. But I'll interrupt for a second. I can still remember 1977 very well, when I was traded from the Los Angeles Rams to the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm leaving Tinseltown and coming to blue-collar Philadelphia, and one of the first guys I meet was you, Vince Papale. Coach said, you need to meet Vince. He'll take you out to South Philly. You'll meet the real fabric of the city of Philadelphia. And we went out for dinner, had a few cocktails. It was an amazing evening, and I really learned from you and that evening what Philadelphia is about. You know, it's about hard work. It's about discipline. It's about giving everything you got. Very similar, you know, the reason you made the Philadelphia Eagles football team. And that was really the beginning for me of still a great relationship with the city of Philadelphia, a great relationship with my old teammates and Philadelphia Eagles as they now exist. So that evening was still very, very important to me, what you taught me by just hanging out with the good folks in South Philadelphia, what this town was about.
Well, yeah, it's a great town, and they've come to love you. You're an icon in town. But, you know, the transition you had to make, Ron, because you're coming from Youngstown State, of course, and then Lackawanna. So, I mean, they're not tinsel towns. I mean, then you're going out there to L.A. What was that transition like?
It was very difficult going from Lackawanna, New York, which is a steel town,
right,
going to Youngstown, which is a steel town, and then you go to L.A., which is commonly known as Tinseltown, as you just said. So that adjustment was difficult for me because, you know, you're going into pro football and you really don't know what to expect, and it was a big learning curve for me. But I was with Dick Vermeil in 1973 when he was the running backs coach with the then Los Angeles Rams. And so Coach knew about me. He knew what my fabric was. He knew my background. And when the opportunity to come to Philadelphia was available, I was a free agent with the Rams, you know, Coach went after me. And I'm very thankful. He won that, well, at that time, a bidding war with the San Diego Chargers and the Chicago Bears. It was probably unknown to a lot of people, but there were other teams that wanted my services. And Dick Vermeil won, and of course I wanted to come and play for Coach Vermeil because I knew the type of person he was and the type of coach he would be. He still wasn't, you know, a Super Bowl winning coach at that time, but I knew he had the fortitude to be a professional championship coach, and it all worked out very well.
Even up for USC tight end Charlie Young, right? And then you come here. I got to ask you this question though. You know, you're in high school at Lackawanna, a 3-sport star. Basketball, football, and baseball, of course. And then you had that opportunity. I think the Cardinals were after you, maybe thinking about taking you to the major leagues. How tough of the decision was that for you to go from there to Youngstown as opposed to going majors?
Vince, I was 17 years old, and I was a pretty good baseball player. The St. Louis Cardinals offered me a contract to play professional baseball. They were going to send me to the Batavia team in the New York Penn League. And man, I was ready to sign. You know, I'm 17 years old.
What are going to give you a 20,000 signing bonus?
No, what even that? It was playing pro baseball, you know. And this is where my mom and dad stepped in. And no one in my family, I have an older brother and older sister, had gone to college. And he thought, you know, that he wanted me to go to college. In fact, he knew he wanted me to go to college. And for about a month, we would argue every night at the dinner table about what my future was going to be. I wanted to sign a baseball contract. He said, I want you to go to college. And to this day, I lost that argument. And it's one of the great wins after a loss, you know, because I went to college, went to Youngstown State, improved my, you know, not only my football talent, but my educational abilities. And it worked out very well. So to this day, I'm very thankful for my dad pushing me to go to college.
Well, there you go, family. Last week we talked about Doug Peterson, and one of the things you liked about him was his love of his family. And there you are, Ron Jaworski, Sports Enterprises, a zillion golf courses. Every time you go there, there's your whole family there. How important is family to you,
Ron? Family's most important. You know, there's no question. Without, you know, a great wife, I've been married 43 years, 3 kids. All educated, you know, locally in high school, went on to college, all college graduates. So, you know, family's very, very important. My mom and dad were, you know, obviously very important. My sister and brother, just brought up in that put your arms around everyone culture, and I still feel that way. And And I run my business the same way, and I think it's probably the reason we're successful. Everyone is treated the same way. I believe in being honest. That's all I can say. I'm not going to say I'm always right, but I just believe in being honest, and that's how you roll. I think when people always respect that when you look at them and you develop a relationship and you look them in the eye and you shake their hands, even if you deliver a negative message, they respect you because you're truthful and honest. And the same things I learned as a football player for 17 years in the NFL, I take a lot of those same traits that I learned, those same attributes from great leaders. I played for coaches, Vince, that won close to 1,000 games in the National Football League, from Dick Vermeil to Marty Schottenheimer to Don Shula, guys like that. So you obviously learn from people how to be successful. Hey, I'm not the brightest bulb in the room. I'll be the first to admit that. But no one will outwork me. I'm gonna outwork you,
And nobody more competitive.
Well, that comes with saying.
I'll never forget when you were competing against me, running my striders in the off season, doing my
you were a
warm-ups.
real track star. I couldn't compete with you. But I'll take us off the football field. We used to play those basketball games over at Doug Collins' house. You mentioned Doug, and it was we had guys from the Flyers, we had the Phillies, we had the Sixers, we had the Eagles. And no one would go in for a layup. We had NBA players because you would come and you would just forearm someone. Bob Daly would smash someone in the face. It was some wild basketball games. So very competitive.
Who's nuts, baby? I
Who's nuts?
I always used to laugh. Your locker was right outside the training room, Otho Davis's, Ron O'Neill's training room, right? And man, you used to stand tall after the games were over, and just with the press and all kinds of questions. And now you become part of them. In essence, how was that transition? Is it like one of the most fun things you've ever done aside from playing ball?
No, it was difficult.
Yeah.
It was really difficult. And it was difficult as a player to learn to look down the gun barrel after a tough loss. And if there's really one good thing in hindsight, to look back, saying I was honest with the media. They came to my locker after a tough loss, and I was honest with them. I told them the truth, and it was kind of funny. After I retired in 1990, and ESPN hires me, and I'm a game correspondent, reporter at the game, and all of a sudden I'm in the locker room, and I'm interviewing guys, and it was hard to do that.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Hard. The first couple years, like, damn, I want to be playing. It's hard to let it go. But I also believe this: the guys that I interviewed, when they would look at me, they would respect what I did.
Well, you've gained everybody's respect, certainly ours and our teammates and all the guys. And, of course, being in the Super Bowl. If you ever wanted a wingman, here he is, Ron Jaworski. Thanks very much, Ron. It's been great to meet you, John.
I had a wingman. It was you.